G'day kids, make sure you hit the subscribe button, that way you won't miss out on any of the new videos that come out. Until then, enjoy this one.
Ozzie, 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 oi! Ozzie is a friend of yours and he's a friend of mine.
G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie. G'day Ozzie.
G'day kids, Ozzie here. Happy Halloween! Now we've got a great episode today because we're going to learn all about an awesome holiday that's celebrated by so many people all around the world, and I reckon a lot of you may have heard of it before, because it's called Halloween! Trick or treat! Sorry kids, I hope I didn't scare you. That's just Ozzie playing about and getting into the theme of Halloween, which is lots and lots of fun. It's not actually that scary. I would also guess that a lot of you kids may have even got dressed up yourself and gone trick-or-treating on Halloween before. But let's learn exactly what this spooky celebration is all about. Now Halloween is a holiday that's celebrated every year on the 31st of October, and it's where people get dressed up in costumes and go to parties and carve pumpkins, and children get to go trick-or-treating. But did you know that Halloween has been celebrated for over 2,000 years? That's right, it's believed to have started with the Celts in the area that is now known as Ireland, the United Kingdom, and northern France. It was originally known as Samhain, where the Celts would dress up in scary costumes and light bonfires to scare away ghosts and bad spirits from damaging their crops, like corn or wheat and rice and other fruits and vegetables that they grow. It later became known as All Hallows Eve because it happens on the evening before the Christian holiday called All Hallows Day. In time, it then changed into what we now know it as Halloween. Halloween! So there's a bit of the history for you. But these days, Halloween has turned into a holiday full of activities, and one of the most popular things to do is to get dressed up in scary or fun or creative costumes and go trick-or-treating. This means to walk around to people's homes saying trick or treat and asking for candy or sweets and lollies. It seems like a bit of a strange thing to do because we definitely wouldn't knock on strangers' doors any other time of the year. But on Halloween, it's all part of the fun. In the past, if a house owner doesn't give any treats to the kids, they would sometimes play a prank on them. But that's definitely not encouraged anymore. These days, it's just more about getting dressed up, having lots of fun, collecting treats with all of your friends. Another very popular thing to do on Halloween is carving jack-o'-lanterns from pumpkins. Now pumpkins have become a symbol of Halloween all over the world. But why do we do it? Well, the original idea was to scare away evil spirits. These days, we just do it for fun and for decoration. Now kids, have you ever tried to carve your own pumpkin and make your own jack-o'-lantern? Well, you're in for a real treat because that's exactly what we're about to do today. But before we do, here's some more interesting Halloween facts. Originally, kids used to dance, sing, tell a joke or perform something before they could get their treat from the house. In old times, people used to wear animal skins as costumes. Jack-o'-lanterns, like the ones in the big pumpkins, were also made from beets and potatoes and turnips. Can you imagine trying to carve a little potato? That'd be pretty tough. In some places, Halloween was once called Cabbage Night. I'm not really sure why, but here's another crazy one. 1/4 of all of the yearly candy sold in the US is purchased just for Halloween. That's a lot of candy. It's a super fun holiday to celebrate, but it's also very important to remember a few things about safety during Halloween. Safety first as always, kids. Make sure you only go trick-or-treating in areas near your house and do it early in the evening while people are still awake. Now Halloween, it's not for everyone and that's okay. So avoid trick-or-treating at any houses if the lights are off and there are no Halloween decorations. If you don't get any treats from a house, don't play any tricks. Just go to the next house. I bet there'll be treats there. Now an important one, make sure you trick-or-treat in a group or with a buddy. And sometimes it's really good to take a grown-up with you too. Now here's an important one, and the grown-ups would agree with me here. Make sure you brush your teeth. That's right, kids, all of those treats are no good for your teeth. So make sure you give them a good clean after eating all of those sugary lollies and candy. So there you go, kids. There's just a few things about Halloween to help you understand how it all started, how to make sure you have lots of fun and don't get scared, and do it safely. Now we're going to get stuck into the super fun part. We're going to learn how to carve a pumpkin and make our very own jack-o'-lantern. G'day kids, Ozzie here. Now this is going to be super fun because today we're going to learn how to carve this pumpkin and turn it into our very own jack-o'-lantern ready for Halloween. So where do we start? Well, a good place to start is to get your very own nice big orange pumpkin. So get mum and dad or a grown up to take you to the fruit and veg shop and choose a nice big and smooth pumpkin, one that's nice and bright and orange. One with a nice face on it, because that's where we're going to carve the face into and create our very own jack-o'-lantern. Then, what are we going to carve it with? Well, we're going to use some knives, but I can't stress enough, kids, when it comes to cutting the pumpkin, that's a job for the grown-ups. These knives are super sharp, and I've got a different selection of sizes to make it a bit easier so I can do the smaller parts with the smaller knives, but that job is for mum and dad. The fun part for the kids to do, for you kids, is to use the spoon, any kind of spoon. I've got a couple of different sizes there, but we're going to use that to scoop out the inside of the pumpkin. Then we're going to put all that stuff in a bowl, so you need a bowl, and we're going to need something to draw the face on the front of the pumpkin. So you can use anything, a pen, a texture, whatever, but a nice little tip is that if you use a whiteboard marker, it's a bit easier to get off if you make a mistake. So that's all we need to get started. So once you've got everything ready and set up, now's the fun part for you kids to get involved. This is where you get creative. Now, we want to turn this pumpkin into a jack-o'-lantern, which is usually a face. Now there's thousands of different faces like these ones. So as you can see, they don't all have to be scary. You can do fun ones, lovable ones, cute ones, but you can also do really scary ones if you really want to. So once you've decided what kind of face you want to draw on your pumpkin and turn it into your own jack-o'-lantern, you need to draw it on the pumpkin. So there's a few different ways to do that. You can use a texter, as I said before, and just draw it freehand on there. Or you can copy a picture from the internet, or you can even print out a picture from the internet and use that as a guide. So you can trace around the picture, or you can stick it on and cut through the paper, whatever you like. There's lots of different ways. Today, Ozzie's just going to do a freehand drawing. It's going to be pretty simple because I'm a bit of a beginner when it comes to pumpkin carving. But let's get started. You need to find the best looking side of the pumpkin that's going to have the face on it. So I think I've chosen a nice looking side here. All right, so we're going to start with two eyes. Now I'm going to hand draw my eyes and I'm going to keep them nice and straight, and that way the cuts should be a lot easier. There's one eye. And when you're drawing on here, it doesn't really matter if you make a little mistake and you have to go over the line or you have to move the line over, because you're going to cut that section out anyway, so it doesn't really matter if it's a little bit messy. All right, so there's my two eyes. Then I'm going to draw a nose. Okay, just a nice triangle nose, nice and simple. All right, then we need to draw the mouth. So a nice big smiley mouth for my jack-o'-lantern. But of course we're going to need some teeth, aren't we? Okay, a couple of teeth at the top. And then I'm going to give him one tooth at the bottom. It'll be a funny one, this one. So he's going to have three teeth. Two at the top and one at the bottom. Okay. Looks like fun to me. I think it's going to look a whole lot better once we cut it out. But before we cut it out, we need to cut the top of the pumpkin out and then start scooping all that inside out. So I'm just going to draw a little circle around the top, just as a guide. and where we're going to cut. So that's roughly where we're going to cut the top of this pumpkin. And we're going to take one of the sharp knives. I like to use one with a serrated edge. But again, kids, the knife work is only for the grown-ups. All right, so once you've cut all around that circle, you should be able to gently and carefully lift that out. Check this out. Oh yeah! Look at all that guts and inside come out of there. All right, so we're just going to clean that off. I'm actually just going to cut that off because I'm going to use the lid to put back on the top of the pumpkin when I'm finished. So I'm going to put that to the side. Right, now this is the fun part where you kids can get involved. So there's lots and lots of gooey seeds and pumpkin insides. Yeah! So you can pop that in there. Now, one thing you can do is you can chuck that out. You can put it in the compost bin, feed worms, or you can separate the seeds and you can maybe even try and grow your own pumpkins. That'd be fun. All right, so you get as much as you can out using your hands, and then you're probably going to need to use a spoon to scrape it all off the sides. So I'm going to try with this small spoon for starters. Oh, yummy! So kids, you know I love fun facts. Did you know that the word pumpkin comes from a Greek word called papon, which means large melon. Okay, I think we're getting close here, kids. Just getting the last few strands of pumpkin out. I think that looks pretty good. So that's nice and clean in there. You can pick out any more strands as we're going. It's not a big issue. But I think we are ready now to start cutting into that face. Okay, so we're going to take one of the sharp knives again. And a grown-up, this is where you kids can just sit back and relax and watch it all happen. The grown-up is going to cut, and you cut on the outside of the line, okay, so that that line disappears. It'll fall out with the shape that we're cutting. And again, look, it doesn't matter if you're not perfectly neat. So just like that, we've got an eye taken out of there. There's one eye. So now I'm just going to cut the other side. Just going to turn that around so you can see it a little bit better while I'm doing it. Just using those lines as a guide. Not an issue that it's a little bit off the line. Bam, just like that. There's Mr. JackoLantern's second eye. How's he look? You look good? Yeah, cool. So just pulling out some more pumpkin as we're going. Now for his nose. got his nose. There's his nose. How's that? 2 eyes and 1 nose. And now I need to carve his mouth out. Let's see how I go. One important thing to point out here, kids. If you want these teeth to stay in, you need to make sure not to carve out that line, and that bottom line. Okay? Because if you cut there, that tooth's gonna fall out. So I need to cut along that line and then around his teeth. And then the same down here, along that line, up and around his tooth. And then those teeth will stay in there. Make sense? I'll show you. So I've cut along those lines. Now I'm just going to trim the top of his mouth here. Oh, I think we're almost there, kids. I'm going to reach in here, see if I can push his mouth out. If I've cut it properly, it should all come out. I just don't want to break his tooth. There we go. You see that? How's he looking? Is he good? All right, I need a bit of cleaning up of his teeth up here. So once we've carved out the eyes, the nose and the mouth, the last thing we really need to do is to turn it into a jack-o'-lantern. It needs to have a source of light. So let me just get my lights. So I'm going to use a real little candle, a tea light candle. So safely, very safely, or preferably just get a grown-up to light that. And then very carefully, I'm going to pop it inside here. Okay, and then you take your lid, which I've just cleaned up there. I've just taken the black line off there. I'm just going to place that carefully on top. That should just balance in there like that. And there we have Ozzie's little jack-o'-lantern. So there, how good is that? Glowing, nice and bright. You can see the eyes, the nose and the mouth. He looks a little bit scary, but he's a little bit fun. And how good will he look sitting on the front porch or the front balcony out the front of your house somewhere, or even just indoors to decorate your house during Halloween. So there we go, kids. That's our jack-o'-lantern. We did do another one, so I'm just going to clear this out of the way and show you another one that we created. How good is this guy? So here's one that we've prepared just earlier. I'm going to put these guys side by side. All right, so there are a couple of differences with this one. You notice that there's no hole in the top. That's because we did it from the bottom. So that's another method that you can do. And that allows that to look a bit neater at the top than this guy. Personal preference. Also, this really cool option here, you can cut his whole mouth out, right? And then just create teeth, whatever size, however many you want, and then use toothpicks. You then put them in wherever you want them, however many you want. You just squash them in like that, and that's his teeth. And that's how we've created the eyeballs as well. So it gives you a little bit more flexibility. You don't have to cut it out in one piece. So a couple of different options there. Another different thing is you can use an LED light, just like that. So we're going to stick that underneath this pumpkin. And there we have 2 awesome jack-o'-lanterns. So how cool do they look? All nice and glowing. You get a bit of a different color from the LED light, a bit of a warmer, more of a flickering glow from the tea light candle. But hey, they both look awesome. So there you go, kids. That's an introduction on how to carve your own pumpkin and create your own jack-o'-lantern. Ozzie's got a lot of work to do until I can carve as good as those people, but hey, it's not bad for a first effort. Kids, enjoy having a go yourself with your grown up. Make sure that they do all the knife work, but it's a super fun project. One more thing before I go. If you take some of this leftover pumpkin, some of the guts that you took out of it, it's a bit gross, but it's a bit of fun. And you just put it coming out of his mouth. What does it look like? Looks like he's just eaten too much candy, too many lollies on Halloween, and he's had a little spew. Make sure that's not you. So there you go, kids. So much fun to be had. Enjoy your pumpkin carving. Happy Halloween, and until next time, stay keen. Hey kids, did you have lots of fun today watching Ozzie? I hope so. Did you know that we've got a heap of Ozzie episodes on our YouTube channel? If you haven't already, go back and have a scroll through. I reckon you'll find some others that you absolutely love. And while you're there, why don't you hit subscribe? That way you won't miss out on any of our new videos that we bring out. We'll see you again soon, kids. Until then, stay keen. Oh, and by the way, did you happen to find the hidden Ozzie icon in that video? Yeah, make sure you look closely because they're in every single video. That's right. Stay keen, kids.
Ozzie, 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 oi! Ozzie is a friend of yours and he's a friend of